Hello everyone, the furnace just kicked off, so now I feel like I can talk to you candidly. Welcome back to the studio dungeon here. First off, I want to apologize for a late video this week. Last week was a bit of a mess. I got a stomach bug. On top of that, I got a bit of a cold. Very, very busy at work. Not a lot of work done in the studio, so I didn't really feel like I had much to converse about. So actually, well, technically this is Sunday. I'm recording this on Sunday, so it's still within the week. And I have been busy though. I'm working on a digital painting project for a book cover, which I'm excited about. But it's very challenging. It's very difficult. But I'm working through it. I think I'll share some stuff on that if I can. I'm not sure whether or not I can share stuff until it's out or what. But it led me to think about the topic of digital painting and what that entails and the different upsides and downsides to it and how it's perceived within the realm of illustration as well as in the realm of fine art. So digital painting, what is it? Well, basically you download a copy of yourself into the internet, and then a digital version of yourself will learn to paint with it. No, I'm just joking. So basically I always say it feels to me very much like drawing or painting, but you use a tablet. A lot of people think you use a mouse. You don't use a mouse. I'll show you what I use. I use this little Wacom tablet here. I forget what this is. This is a Intuos Pro small pen tablet. This is circa 2015, I believe. And it comes with a little pen like this. And you do your thing. Over here you have different commands that you can control it to do, like color selection, things of that nature. But basically, I use this, and a computer. I have my laptop down here right now because I've been working on it, on the paintings down here. I used to work on this one. This is an older computer, so I don't want to deal with that lag. So I work on the newish computer here, the MacBook Pro 2015 era, whatever that is. And I use Photoshop. So basically that's what I do. And I started taking it or looking into it more seriously once I found out, or not found out, once me and Brandon decided to have a child. I knew things were going to be a bit hectic, and I knew my studio was going to be then turned into a nursery. So painting would not be as be a thing that would be as regular as I would hope it to be. But I certainly wanted to stay active, and I prior to that I was working a little bit more with digital painting, just trying to feel it out. My first foray into it, or at least my introduction to it, was by an artist named Bobby Lee. He's an illustrator. He does a lot of kind of character work. I mean, it's not necessarily work I do or I typically would be as into, but I really liked, I forget how I came across it. I came across it on YouTube somehow. I think I was looking up something with painting or something, and he was digitally painting and talking over it, kind of what led me to do videos like this. And I thought, wow, what an interesting way to go about it, because you know, when I saw his work, I just figured it was painted, and then I found him doing it digitally. So I looked into it deeper, and I came across another artist named Jason Seiler. I think they both know each other. I know they both know each other. Why I say anything? Anyway, and I started following his work, and he really blew me away. And that's when I was like, okay, I really want to look into this more seriously. He's primarily a caricature artist, but he also does a lot of portrait work as well, and he works for like magazines like the Rolling Stone, Newsweek, the Standard Weekly, all sorts of publications. I'm sure you've seen his work somewhere and not realized it. Absolutely an amazing artist. I love his work, and it was just drew me to the medium because I was just thinking, wow, what an interesting way to work. So once I started doing it, I really liked it because it felt very, very much like painting. Aside from the cost of the paints and all the messiness and the cleaning of the brushes and the fumes and the toxicity and all that. So I started learning how to do it, and then once I knew Merrick was coming, I really started to amp it up, and I decided at one point I think I was gonna basically focus on digital painting. So I kind of a little bit went all in, and that's when I got the nicer tablet. Before that, I had some kind of economy versions, and at that point I got the laptop because I wanted to be as portable as I possibly could given the situation. Well, once Merrick was born, we were, it was a little complicated because he developed epilepsy and various other elements. So at that point, I was really like, okay, like I was really trying to not paint as much and concentrating on that, and I figured I would work more and more in the digital realm, and also we had no space whatsoever, so to paint. And then once we moved, I got the dungeon down here, the little basement, so I started to paint again, and paint with oil painting, because as I moved, I started moving all these oil paintings I did, and I started to miss it. I missed the fumes, I missed the smell, I missed the brushes. So I started doing that again, but still, I mean, like, digital painting has really helped me with that as well, because it helps me kind of sketch out and compose certain ideas that I can then transfer to canvas or board that I then flesh out as a full-fledged oil painting. So I wanted to talk about the drawbacks and the positive aspects of digital painting. Well, the drawbacks, since I spoke about a little bit more towards its strengths, the drawbacks are it's not necessarily as respected in the fine art realm. Like, there's not a lot of people looking for prints of digital paintings. It's kind of still has a stigma. It feels like, oh, that's fake. Oh, that digital stuff. All you do is just point and click on a bunch of things, and you think you can sorry. I don't feel the brushwork. I don't feel the juice of the paint. It's just garbage, two-dimensional drivel. That's kind of what you'll hear from some people in that sector. Which is unfortunate, because it's just as valid as any other medium as far as I'm concerned. I can get what they're saying. I mean, the output is only as good as the print that it becomes, and that can lead to certain discrepancies between your vision and what the end outcome was as far as the print. There's been times I've printed my digital paintings and they've come out way too light or too dark, and that's a whole nother realm, the printing aspect of it. However, the process of making the work, composing the picture, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's different, but it's just as valid. And it's just unfortunate that some within the fine art realm stigmatize it as much as they do. It's kind of frustrating. But on the other end, as far as illustration work goes, it's almost a must-have, because like, if you have a tight turn, I mean, if you're not worrying about dry times and you're not worrying about I'm drawing a blank for a second. Not worried about dry times. You're not worried about wasting canvas. You're not worrying about, like, editing or fixing something on the fly. Like, if I paint something and someone's like, oh, I need that changed a little bit, I can kind of work over it fairly easily digitally, but when it's on canvas or on board, it's a whole nother ball of worms there. It's a lot more work to kind of work into, and it can really wear down the surface, and the paints will get darker and darker every time you work into it. So it works best for that medium, and that's primarily what it's for, because it's going to be reproduced on books and magazines and all that stuff. So I can understand why it's relegated to it, but what I've done sometimes is I'll do a digital painting and I'll stretch it out on canvas, print it on canvas, stretch it out, and I'll rework into it with oil painting. And I think that's a really interesting kind of way to work. In a sense, I'm doing the underpainting digitally as opposed to just doing a burnt sienna style underpainting. But I will say, the art snob in me can kind of see where, as far as feeling the oil and feeling the brushwork, I can see where it can fail, as far as like if you're seeing it in a gallery, you want to believe, there is something to like the opaqueness and the tactileness of oil painting or acrylic, and seeing the hand of the artist. There is something there. So as much as I mocked it, there is an argument to be made there. But I guess so that's my current thoughts on digital painting. I love it. I don't know what I would do without it, to be quite honest. Of course, people are like, well, why don't you just sketch? Why don't you just... Well, there's just so much you can do. You can create anything you want. I mean, who doesn't want that? You can use any color you want. It's just an amazing feeling. And it like just waking up in the morning and having a cup of coffee and just going to your desk and putting on some headphones and just getting right into it. It's an amazing feeling. That said, I do miss working on like a real nice big screen for this type of stuff. I'm kind of relegated to the old laptop, which is great. Much more vivid colors, much more accurate colors, but I miss that, having a real space for the computer and working large in that way. But I'll get there again at some point. But yeah, so right now I'm working on some digital paintings, and I'm having a hard time. I think it's going along pretty good. There's a concept I'm trying to flush out, but it's ambitious. There's multi-figures in it, very expressionistic figures. I'm trying to go for a quasi-Norman Rockwell feel for this particular piece, and I want to give them a kind of rough mock-up sketch by the end of the week, and it has to be finished by the end of the month and I think they're going to print it in April. So, of course, I'm beating myself up over it right now, but I'm sure it's going to turn out well. This is the stages of working on stuff. You have a minute where it's like, oh, great, yeah, I can do it. You promise the world. You're like, okay, yeah, this is easy, I can do it. Because you want to do the project because it sounds like a lot of fun, or it sounds like a good opportunity or something. And then you're like, okay, it's going to go through. I'm like, oh, great. And then you're like, oh, gosh, now I have to do this thing. So you start sketching it out, and you're nervous. And then you do one part of the sketch that looks pretty good. And you're like, yeah, here we go. We're getting into it. We're seeing the vision. And then you do a little longer, like, getting a little hard. Especially if you don't have the right reference. That's the other part. Like, I have one bit of reference that I'm using as my anchor reference, and then I have to find kind of little bits here and there to kind of make up the pieces, because the reference itself isn't like a high-res photo. It's very, very, it's very kind of pixelated and stuff. So I have to make up all these features, and to be honest, like, I'm not as great at just making a face up or something. I'm good when I'm observing, and I can kind of embellish and change things up, the kind of make the piece kind of unique and interesting, I am not as good of just making up a face or something. So, and there's a little bit of that going on right now that I'm, you know, it's it's getting at me, but I think I'm getting through it. I'm getting through it. So yeah, a little rambly, not as much here to show. Maybe I'll show some samples of the other artists if I can edit this thing and do haste. But I appreciate you guys tuning into these, and oh, and in case you haven't seen it, this little YouTube experiment I got going on was featured in a nice gossip column in the Seacoast Online, on Seacoast Online, so I was stoked for that, and I'm very appreciative of that. And thank you all for the very positive reinforcement of seeing these videos and everything. What I will do, I think about it, I did a digital painting this past Christmas season of some Haunted Overload characters for commission that I will post along with this, so you can see the actual process of the digital painting. I know some of you, most of all 20 of you, 30 of you that may watch this may have probably seen this digital painting done on, you know, I posted it on Facebook, but I'll post it again so there's a little more context to what I'm talking about. All right, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Oh, as always, like, subscribe, and share. You're the best. I love you.